High-grade Universal Century Byarlant Custom. Hey, what's up again, everybody? It's Robert184, 2Rs2Bs, GundamReviews.net, and it's fitting that Char is here to kick off this review of a Universal Century kit that's both new and old in the making from Zeta Gundam and Unicorn. I'm talking about the HGUC Byarlant of the custom variety. 2012 release, 2,600 yen. Some cool, though somewhat muted color art there that you can see on the cover. It's got some more pink there from the beam sabers on the front of the package. The name in English down below in Japanese, and there it is. High-grade Universal Century from UC number 147. This MS, when it was first revealed, had a lot of fans very excited. I'm talking about old school and new school fans. Old school fans because of Camille being in there in the Mark II and then the Zeta Gundam, because he was going to take on his main rival, even though you have to think, yeah, Jared did not live up to the steps of Char in terms of being an amazing, iconic rival. Nonetheless, Jared had lots of mobile suits and some cool ones in there, and even though it was the 80s and transformed, Jared's Byarlant did not transform, but it was still capable of fighting in the atmosphere. And what they did is many, many years later in the Universal Century, after Char's counterattack, well, Gundam Unicorn came out, and it was sort of an excuse, A, to tell a great UC story, again, which old school fans are definitely happy with, and more importantly, to reintroduce, and also just introduce for the first time, lots of old school kits, which is why they sort of took an interesting approach. Instead of just having it be an EFF or a Xeon remnant, and no changes, they decided to upgrade it, make it cooler, and that's all actually going to be explained in why they turned it into the Byarlant Custom. First, for the history, to the Gunpla Bible we go, where once you flip past the 1-year war and the 08th MS team, you are going to see Zeta Gundam, the next generation of Gundam here, with its 1/144th kits with some cool ones in there, including the DJ. Wouldn't that be nice to see an HGUC? And you can see the Humbrabi over there, which just got an HGUC release. Here you can see there weren't all that many 1/100s between the Mark II, the Zeta, and then you can see some allies and a bad guy down there, including a Jared suit. But then something very surprising on the back page, two fans who have joined the hobby more recently, because they used to have 1/220th scale. They tried the 1/200th speed grade line and only had 4 releases, but this was back in the day, 1985, these kits were coming out, and this was your only chance to pick up some kits like the Masala that we're going to be getting in HGUC, and I'm a big fan of, from Gundam vs. Gundam Extreme and Versus, and the Byarlant. This was the only way you could get it. 420 yen. You'll notice that it's got a purple color scheme there, much rounder feet and much rounder boosters, with some pretty cool cover art down there. That came out in April, but it wasn't until 20 years later or so, or even more, because Gundam UC had all sorts of remnants from the Xeon side, and here the Titan suit became the property of the EFF, and they were going to get rid of the mono eye and definitely make it into a regular gym-type suit. But for me, one of the reasons that I really wanted to pick this up was not necessarily, it had a lot of hype going into its OVA appearance. Didn't show up all that well and didn't have a lot of screen time, although it certainly looked cool and was incredibly well animated with all sorts of great moving parts, and the limbs definitely were used well. But for me, it's this manga here that really sort of set it apart. In my mind, the English subtitle seems to be on here, The Truth of the EFF, and you can see the pilot there, and you can see his history as he's going to go back. This is sort of a reporter's story. So the reporter is going to meet the ace pilot. It turns out that they're blowing him up to be an ace pilot, even though back in the day he met a certain red somebody who made him look like a coward. And you can see him progress through the years and through the mobile suits until once you get to the end, that's when you're going to see not just one Byarlant, but a couple Byarlants. Here they are in the hangar. You can see one, and then you can see the other one there with the cool custom arms on there. But then you can see some other cool stuff, including the base jabbers are going to be flying out there as it launches for its aerial combat. And you can see the base jabbers, which this one wasn't going to need because it is capable of flying in the atmosphere thanks to the thrusters that it's got all over the place. And it's very cool the way it ends up in the end. Some great looking poses, and something that's important for me as a modeler is just to see whether or not this EFF symbol is going to be on there. It looks like his head is just blocking it, but you can make it out there ever so faintly, and you get some great splash pages of the Byarlant Custom. And if you weren't a fan of it, just from its MS design after its somewhat perhaps disappointing turn in the OVA, I think this manga would definitely help you enjoy it. To the side of the box now, where you get to see the mobile suit in some fantastic poses there. You can see that it's up on an Action Base 1 here, despite the fact that usually it's going to be Action Base 2 for 1/144th HGUC kits. But you can see that he's going to have the 2 sets of limbs there, as the beam sabers are going to be coming out of the inner ones, with the claws on the other ones. Some great red colors all over the place and green piping to go along with the yellow parts there for the V-fin, looking good. And on the back, why can he fly without being more than meets the eye? Well, it's going to be because of those red thrusters over there. It'll be a question of how much of them are seals and how much of them are plastic. You can also see some details like you're going to have tons of moving parts there. The shoulders are going to be extra wide here, but they are going to have some movement. You can see that the arms are going to move independently, the hips are going to move all over the place, and the neck as well. Before moving on, we're going to be getting some marking seals down there with that big EFF, Earth Federation Force there for his left shoulder. Also some different marks there. And if you don't want to put them on here, well, why not throw them onto some other kits that we've seen in Unicorn? Here's the claw arm that's going to be opening up, and you've got the mega particles down there. The beam saber can fit in and look good with the claw, and if you want to recreate action scenes, well, there's a whole bunch of HGUC kits from UC for you to choose from for him to go battle. The other side is old school HGUC box design here, as you've just got a regular standing front view here. It's going to look quite good there. Again, the red, the green piping all over the place. This is clearly lined and painted up by a pro though. Taking a look at the back, you can see lots of details there, including those massive thrusters, some great looking CG, and then you can see some more story about it. And if you want to go take a look at its stats, it's definitely a very heavy one here at 39 tons, and 20.6 meters is definitely going to make it big, and that's not with the help of any extended commander antennas or the like. For a look inside the manual, again, you've got that great looking model there, the name at the top, and when you go inside, you're going to be getting a color splash page right away with a pose there, the action-based one, the thrusters in the back, with the claw arms down below. You can see that the beam saber in hand is always going to look good. They're going to talk about the specs and some of the other weapons, and yes, buy all our playsets and toys, even if we're only going to show them for the first time in, 30 years in an OVA now. But if you want to go to the inside to start things off properly, here you can see all the plates laid out, quite a few. It's going to go up to H with a very small eye plate there for the eyes, and you're going to put together the chest, which is sort of small, with a big, interesting section that's going to be hanging off either side. A small backpack there with an interesting build for the head. Lots of interesting parts for the arms and shoulders as you've got those all together. And then the legs, which are quite a bit different from the original Byarlant, and definitely a lot less round, are going to get assembled. Before returning to the other side, this is going to give you 5 color pages here. It's 5 pages, and which is a little bit rare considering that this isn't a transforming Gundam and there's no transformation to show. But after you put together the waist section with some cool looking pipes there, and you've actually got the body together, you can put together the vanes for the back and the extra thrusters and propellant tanks. Get them up on an action base. They're going to show you how to put in a beam saber, which you'd think that you could figure out. And on the back, we're going to have some more poses there, looking good, and a color guide down below. You have to wonder if we'd ever be getting a purple variation in the future. Sadly, the plates, empty as they are not going to give any indication that we'll be getting an old school Jaren Mesa one, as they're all labeled quite clearly here Byarlant Custom for each of them. There's nothing Byarlant, nothing sort of generic about them. But in terms of the colors, you're going to be getting some gray and this nice light blue, which is going to look pretty good to go along with this navy-ish blue. But there's more color than you'd expect. First of all, in the red, although not as much as you'd like when you see the seals in a moment, to go along with all sorts of green. Again, much more than expected. Most of this is going to be piping, which you'd have to go through in line if you really want to do it upright. And then you've got some yellow parts for the V-fin and for the chest, which are going to look good. All important pink beam sabers there. These are going to be the SB1 types. And you're finally, this is a very nice touch, that they're going to give you a nice clear green part there that's going to make up the non-mono eyes, considering that he's supposed to be arguably a good guy, even though he ends up facing off Unicorn. You know that things get blurred after the 1-year war. But why complain about a half plate of red? Well, that's because when you take a look at the seals before they come out of here, and if you can see the color that's going to be all around these holes there, this is all going to be for the Byarlant Custom, except it's all half the red that's going to be in this body is going to be provided by seals, and it's definitely disappointing. The kind of thing that you'd never see in a 1/100th or a master grade. I guess we're just going to have to get used to it, and I suppose having this is a little bit better than nothing, but painters rejoice. They're going to be nice, easy spots for you to tape off and paint them up. It's just, again, unfortunate because some of them could have been done in plastic. You're going to have some small red and yellow tick marks that you can choose to put on or not. Same thing down there. These are going to go on the legs. You can just ink them up. These parts are going to hide the sides of some of the red parts on the chest, but again, these red seals, A, they're going to be tricky to put on, and B, they're just too large. Could have been done in plastic. The marking seals are going to be a lot more pleasing, though, as you're going to have just some light gray writing there. I've already got it on the shoulder there, which is why this is cut out. These aren't dry decals. You don't need to use water. You're just going to cut them out and put them on, which unfortunately is going to leave that white clear film around there. So you're going to be able to see that unless you've got some more pro ideas. And of course, you can do those up a little bit better, but some other cool marks, including a little Titan one down there as well. That'll wrap up my introduction to this old school, new school Byarlant Custom from Zeta via Gundam UC. Somewhat disappointing from the unbox that you're going to have so many seals, as I've already gone on at length about. However, some great looking parts on the plates and some good colors in there, and I think that the colors match very well. Disappointing though again that it doesn't seem like we're going to be getting any of the non-custom variety. Anyway, everybody, stick around to see how the parts are all going to work when they're all put together. And as always, let me know what you thought of it in the OVA and everything else, including this video, with a comment down below. Thanks for watching. See ya.